All right. Hello, dog walkers and pet sitters. Josh Shermer here. And today we are going to do a quick video just discussing a concept called Parkinson's Law. Well, two concepts possibly, because I think they go hand in hand. But Parkinson's Law states simply, maybe it's simple, that the smaller amount of time you have, your data expands. So, meaning when you shorten the amount of time, you can actually expand how much you do in that time. And the reverse is true too. When you have a wide berth of time, it creates an intensity, more stress involved with getting something done. So I would say that data shrinks when you have a larger amount of time, which is a really relevant topic for the pet industry because most of us don't have free time. And when we do, it's so important how we use that time. It might decide in many ways the direction we go with our life and our business. I mean, in the beginning of my business, I had no free time. And so if I wasted that bare minimum of free time I had less of a chance of making changes, let's say, in my life or my business. So here's some ideas. It's sort of a gamified way of looking at time. So here's some essentials with this law. First of all, you have to use this concept for something important. You can't use it for just a run-of-the-mill task you want to complete. It has to be like, I really want to knock this out, or I really have to knock this out. That's step one. Step two is you need to estimate how long it takes you to complete that task. So let's just say that you have a room that's just cluttered to the ceiling. It's really getting on your nerves. It's making you unhappy. And you estimate it's going to take you 5 hours to complete. Well, based on this law, what you would do is estimate 10 to 15% less time than it will take you. Okay? And don't do more than that at first. Don't take a 5-hour job and go, I'm going to get it done in an hour. But just remove 10 to 15% of the time and give it to yourself. Allot it. Schedule it. And you will find it amazing how you're able to wrap around that amount of time and get the task done versus an open-ended amount of time. So what are some other ways we can do this type of thinking? Well, let's just say that you need to work on content for your website. You need to write blog posts. You need to do something for your business. But you go to a cafe with a laptop, you plug in the power, and you wind up sitting there a lot thinking, procrastinating, web surfing. Happens to all of us. Well, with this law, what you could do is not plug your computer into the power. So instead of plugging it into the power, you're just going on the battery life. And you can only write as long as that battery lasts. Once that battery is finished, no more writing. So when you shrink the amount of available time, you're going to get more done. Now we can apply this over and over and over again. This is a way of thinking that I really appreciate, which is gamified thinking. I like to gamify life if possible. The simple version of this with my children would be, if I say, all right, guys, you got to get dressed within the next hour, they would wait until the end and then it will become very stressful. For an adult, it might be the late night crasher, the person who does the paper the night before. And you notice the smart kids often would do the paper the night before it's due and get a pretty good grade. Not always an A+, but a pretty good grade. And we would be annoyed at them because we'd be like, how are they able to do that? Now, that's not Parkinson's Law. Parkinson's Law would be that same person pretending the paper is due a week earlier. So the teacher says, you have 6 weeks to complete this. Well, no. In your mind, tell yourself you have 4 weeks to complete this or 5 weeks to complete this. And then what you do, once you cram it, even if you cram it on that 5th week, then you can edit, update it for that additional week you have. Okay? So you're going to have a better product. So this type of thinking can be applied to time. Time is such a valuable resource for a pet professional. I hope this helps you. The other concept I wanted to discuss, I'll do a separate video on, but it's the idea of 80-20, where it started from the fact that 20% of a sales force would usually make up 80% of the sales. Now, if we loosely apply this to our lives or our businesses, to me, you have to have that 20%. Let's say you only have 20% of time a week available to you to do what you want with. It's got to be high percentage items if you want to make real changes. So you combine those two ways of thinking. I have to do the biggest bangs for the buck, the most high value items, and then the way I use my time, I have to use this sort of, gamified thinking. I think it would help a lot of us out there. I've already used this theory. It's really helped me. Again, the keys. It's got to be important. It has to be important. We have to estimate how long it's going to take to do. We remove 10 to 15% of the time. We don't overdo it with cutting down. But if you do the same task periodically and you hate this task, as you start to master this skill more, maybe you go down to 25%, 30%. You start to cut down more and you can start to pace yourself. The worst thing you can do, though, with this concept is overdo it and choose something that you actually don't really care about. That's not really important to you. All right, I hope this has been helpful. I will speak to you soon. Bye-bye.